Support WrestleTalk!
Be kind to each other in the comments.
Daniel Bryan may be forced out of SmackDown. Welcome to the WrestleTalk Podcast review of SmackDown. I am Corporate Chopper. I'm joined by Tempest, the wrestler. Before we get into anything else on SmackDown, first things first, we are taking your Ultrachats today, so make sure to get them in at the link that's on the screen right now, WrestleTalk.com/support, and we will get through every single one of your Ultrachats before the show ends today. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is this angle that was set up with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns on this show, also featuring Cesaro. Which started off with the opening segment, which was, let me get my notes up here. I'm not very organized. Sorry, I was rushing before we went live. But we got a recap of Roman and Cesaro from last week and all the stuff that they did. Big fan of the fact that in the recap package, they still managed to include a clip of Cesaro doing the UFO at WrestleMania with Michael Cole saying, this is a quote here, Michael Cole said, the voiceover line on it said, "The single most impressive moment in WrestleMania history."
Killing me.
What? It's not. It was very cool, but it's definitely not, considering he literally did it the year before. Anyway, it is a nitpick. I would have thought that the takeaway would have been like, hey, Cesaro got his big singles WrestleMania win against Seth Rollins. That's a big deal. But no, they're like, the spin. It's fine.
Did an airplane spin.
Yeah, he really did. But yeah, so it started off with Cesaro in the ring, who was going to cut a promo, but got interrupted by Seth Rollins before he could even get out a word. Rollins came out. I thought Rollins had a really good promo here. It was quite funny, and him just being like very over the top, charismatic with his new character is very good. He fits that role really well, I think. He blamed his loss on the rain delay at WrestleMania, just saying, I was off my game because of the rain, blah, 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 blah. And then Cesaro offered a challenge, said, do you want to fight then? Because I'm feeling pretty good if you want to go again. Rollins looks like he's going to accept, makes his way down the ring, but Jey Uso comes out and says, no, I want to fight Cesaro because he did the tribal chief, and I faced him last week, and he can't beat me because Rollins caused the DQ last week. But before they can get into it, it looks like they're going to do a 2-on-1 attack. Daniel Bryan comes out, and he cuts a promo saying, kind of on behalf of Cesaro, being like, he deserves a Universal title shot against Roman Reigns. He's worked harder than anybody in this company. He's worked harder than me. He's worked harder than you guys. He's worked harder than everybody in here. And he says, look, I know Roman's going to come out and we're going to get beaten up 3-on-2, and that's just the way it goes. But hey, if we're going to be facing 3-on-2, then there's no one I'd rather be beside than Cesaro, which I thought was quite a nice way to put over Cesaro as well. Anyone who wants to fight should come out, he says. Reigns then comes out. I think he called Bryan a bottom. I don't know if you can do that, Reigns, but that's okay. But then he says, yeah, you shouldn't be running your mouth like that because the people want to beat you up. And then he walks off. And then there's an ad break. And wouldn't you know, we got ourselves a tag team match. Players of Rollins and Uso versus Bryan and Cesaro. I thought this was pretty solid opening little promo segment. I thought Seth's one was very strong. And I kind of liked I sort of liked the way they set up the tag team match. It felt a little convoluted at times, but it got to the place it needed to get to, basically, without too much offensive stuff. So yeah, I thought it was good.
So I will start off my line of thought here by saying I thought this episode of SmackDown was pretty brilliant, actually. Yeah. I have so few things to say about this show negatively, although a few of them are in this first segment. So I wanted to kind of say, like, believe me, this show is going to get a very high rating. And I'm trying right now to, like, not be negative for no reason towards certain things. But there are a few things that stood out in this first segment that I wasn't the biggest fan of. Really, just one really small nitpick and a few other things I just wanted to point out. The only thing I didn't like was that when Daniel Bryan came out to, like, even the odds, he did his, like, yes, yes, yes entrance. Because to me, if your buddy's about to get double teamed, you'd probably just run. But again, that's another WWE ism where you have to do your entrance because fans want to see the entrance, right? So I'm not going to get super into it. It's just like that's just how they are. But it did stick out to me. Otherwise, Daniel Bryan working essentially as Cesaro's manager is something that was a little bit weird to me, just because WWE seems to be so against the idea of managers. You know, like it's been very clear over the last like decade or 2 decades that they're like managers are like a dirty word unless you're Paul Heyman. Like you don't really get like the Bobby Heenans and, you know, the Paul Bearers and guys like that. But they like the idea enough to have Daniel Bryan just fill that role for this episode. And it makes me just kind of think, well, why don't you just get a really good manager for Cesaro and you can effectively fill the same role here? That being said, everyone here played their role just so well. Daniel Bryan is like, he's amazing. He's Daniel Bryan. He's one of the best wrestlers of all time. That goes without saying. And he was a perfect foil as like, I guess I just hadn't seen Daniel Bryan in this role of like the old veteran babyface, because to me, he's still like young and working right now. Like, I don't know. He doesn't fill the same role to me that like Shawn Michaels did at the end of his run. And when I think more about it, it's pretty similar, honestly. Like this great, amazing in-ring wrestler with great promo ability who is now at the end of his run and is helping to get that next generation of people over. But I don't know. It's weird. Like, that's just how my brain works. It's not me looking at things the same way, but it was done so well in this case, so I don't really have a problem with it. And then the match was really good.
The match was great. Yeah, the match was really good because they actually gave it time. This was like a 20+ minute opener. It went through 2 ad breaks and the action was really good. Like, there are 4 amazing wrestlers in the ring and they put on some really good. This is like a main event worthy level match that they put on the opener, which is also a thumbs up. And then giving them loads more time. There's tons of little bits in this match that I really enjoyed. Like, because when we came back from the ad break, the match had technically been made, but it hadn't started yet because they were just brawling the whole time, supposedly. And then when the match gets going, Cesaro gets out the ring and Rollins is out the ring. And as Uso's there, he tries to take his t-shirt off and Bryan just drop kicks him into the corner. And then they just keep wrestling with Jay with his t-shirt on. It's like, that made it feel a bit more like, I don't know, like real to me that you wouldn't wait for the guy to take his t-shirt off. You would just go kick him kind of thing. It was pretty good. Really enjoyed all the in-ring action on this one. So many near falls. I was like, okay, well, this is the finish then. It isn't. Okay, fair enough. Lots of like, there was a really cool pop-up uppercut. There was it was a really big super kick from Jey Uso and stuff like that. And it was a splash onto Bryan, you know, all sorts of stuff that was like, okay, that's the finish. And then it wasn't. However, I didn't like the finish. I really didn't like the finish, which was after basically no reason, after all like 20 minutes going through 2 ad breaks and everything, Seth Rollins just walks away from the match, which is a bit pants. And then Bryan hits a running knee on Jey Uso and wins. And it's like, well, that then takes away from the babyface's victory because they won when it was 2-on-1, which is just not as good as them just winning. And especially because it was so quick afterwards, like Seth probably wouldn't have impacted the result anyway, because he literally walked away running knee victory kind of thing. But it still just had that disconnect for me where I was like, oh, it's just a bit of a downer on it at the end, because if Seth was just, I don't know, taken out on the outside and then they won, that's it. That's all you need. That's just a clean, proper, good victory. And even though his presence probably wouldn't have changed it, for me, it's still that, like, it's like an asterisk on the victory being like, but Seth walked away, so it's not quite as a big a victory as it seems kind of thing. And just in general, I'm not a huge fan of people just walking away from matches, even though I know it's Seth Rollins and Jey Uso and they're not a tag team and it's part of Seth's character to protect himself, and I totally understand that. But just in general, because there was no reason for it as well. If there was something in the match where Seth was just getting dogpiled on and he was like, I can't stand for this anymore kind of thing, but he was just kind of there and then he was like, I don't want to be here anymore, and then walked away. And I was like, But why? But why? Yeah. You've already been here for 20+ minutes. Why now? What's caused you to leave now? I don't know. But yeah, it was still a great match. I'm just not a huge fan of the finish. Right people won though, so that's always a plus.
Yeah, it helps a lot that the right team won, and I've never been a big fan of the idea of just like, I've been wrestling for 20 minutes, but now I don't care. And now I'm willing to lose and just walk away, So, I'm not a huge fan of the finish, but this episode of SmackDown was so heavy on like in-ring action and good in-ring action at that honestly, I'm willing to look past it. Just for the sake of positivity.
Fair enough. The positive Tempest we've got today. But after that, we then had a promo segment immediately afterwards where Bryan again is talking for Cesaro, kind of being the mouthpiece for him, which I thought was a pretty creative way to get over Cesaro's like kind of lack of promo ability. Because I think there can be very convoluted ways to just be like, oh, you can't cut a promo, so we won't have it. And I thought this episode did a pretty good job of getting Cesaro over without having Cesaro have to talk and just letting his in-ring work do the action. Putting on a 20-plus minute tag match is step one. And also, he just swung Jey Uso for ages here while Daniel Bryan cut a promo. He's like, hey, Roman, you going to come save your cousin? You going to do it? You should. Like, he's your family. You're the tribal chief. Your whole thing is that you provide for your family. Your family's here right now getting swung. You should probably come rescue him. But he never did because he's an asshole. So, I just thought it was pretty effective. And him just saying, like, I guess Roman's scared because he knows that if he faces Cesaro will be Universal Champion. I was like, this is a great way to continue the push of Cesaro and make him seem like a big deal in Daniel Bryan's eyes and in the fans' eyes, without having to like really damage too much else, without having to showcase any of Cesaro's weaknesses. It's just highlighting his strengths, which are in-ring work. That's what he does, and they did a great job of doing that. Great opening match, and the promo segment afterwards where he didn't have to talk. It's perfect.
Yeah, love this. Like this is what I was talking about when it comes to like they should have a manager for Cesaro. Because you could have had someone playing this role that Daniel Bryan played on this episode, like forever, have Cesaro just swing people for an entire promo segment while someone talks about how great he is. Like that's that seems just like such a no-brainer that they just haven't done yet. And you see it for the first time here where Daniel Bryan is cutting the promo and it's like, oh, it works so well. Like it makes Cesaro feel like such a big deal.
Yeah,
I love it. I want to see it more often. I don't know that we will, but I would like to.
Yeah, I'd really like that. We got a backstage segment with Apollo Crews afterwards. We'll come to that later. Sorry, my brain's getting ahead because I was just going to do the play-by-play of the whole thing. We're not doing that. We're talking about the Roman Bryan stuff. God, both of us are quite tired today. But this was all leading to stuff later on. We got a backstage promo from Daniel Bryan. He went over to Adam Pearce and said, hey, you should really make the match between Cesaro and Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. Like, you have the power. You should make it. I love that Adam Pearce here said, I can't just snap my fingers and make it happen. I was like, can't you?
Yeah,
Isn't that literally your job?
Do that?
That's literally your job to do that. You're the one that made the triple threat at Mania.
Yeah. When have we ever seen an authority figure just being like, oh, well, have to run it by the board of directors first? Like, what? No.
I think what they were trying to get across is that he doesn't want to do it because it involves Roman and, like, whole history with Roman. Roman's a bit of a knob and he'd make complications and stuff like that. But they didn't really say that, and it didn't come across that way at all. It was just like, well, I don't have the power. Like, yeah, you do.
This reminds me of a time, it was like 10 years ago now, when you remember when Christian lost the heavyweight title to Randy Orton, like immediately after he won it? Yeah. Right at, because Randy Orton was given this title match by Teddy Long on the SmackDown right after Extreme Rules. And Christian's like, all right, just won this title, but, fighting champion, let's do it. And then he loses, and immediately afterwards, like the next week or a couple weeks later, he's like, you can just give me a rematch. And Teddy Long's like, Christian, I can't do that. I was like, why not?
Why not?
You literally just did it to the other guy. Why do you just hate Christian so much? And this was the same thing to me. I was like, why do you just hate Cesaro? Throw Cesaro a bone.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. We got a backstage promo from Paul Heyman later on with Kata Braxton, who confirmed that we were getting an answer for Cesaro's challenge by the end of the night, would be Roman Reigns' answer. And then it all led into kind of the main event segment, which was Cesaro and Bryan came back out expecting Roman's answer. Roman comes out, they call out Reigns once again, and Roman comes out. And I really liked Roman's promo here. He got really fired up in Cesaro's face and just being like, "Who are you? You haven't earned this shot. Like, get your ass out of here." There was something along those lines. Get to the back of the line, Jack. He didn't say Jack. That would be bad.
That's
but
John Cena thing.
Yeah,
John Cena calls people Jack when he's amped up.
It's the worst. But it was really, really solid promo. And said, "No, I'm not gonna respond to your challenge. In fact, I'm gonna give the challenge." And he looks over at Bryan and goes, "To you." And I was like, "Huh, interesting." And he says, "Yeah, I'll let you have one more shot at the Universal Championship, but if you lose, when you lose," which I liked when he said that, then I don't want to see you on my show ever again. You've got to leave SmackDown if you lose." And Bryan said, "Okay, I accept," and got in his face and was like, "Yeah, that's fine." Very fun promo, and that sets up a huge match because that's on next week's SmackDown. They're not even doing it on pay-per-view. They're doing it on SmackDown. Great. More of that. And this still feels like, because I've said before, I'm a huge fan of them kind of not using Roman too much and only using him in very like specific matches and roles. This still fills that role for me because Bryan leaving SmackDown, that's a huge deal. Like that's a big stipulation to put into this match. And that still feels like a big match for next week's show. So I'm hoping that it is a good match and not something that has like, I hope it's not an angle, and I hope it's not like some crappy DQ finish where it's like, "Oh, we'll have to do it again at Backlash," or something stupid. But I am very intrigued as to where that goes. I think it's made me want to watch next week's show, which really is all you can ask for stuff like this. It was really good. I'm really, really, really curious to see where this goes because I don't think Bryan's going to win. And I don't know whether that means he's just going to go over to Raw, or this is tying in with this whole contract expiring thing, or I don't know. Maybe Edge is going to cost him the match next week and Bryan has to go after that. I don't know. I'm quite intrigued.
Yes. I mean, so many thoughts having to do with this segment and then the proposed match. Like, I love Roman Reigns promos. Like, I've always really enjoyed the guy who can go out and say his promo with a quiet intensity. Like, he's right now, he doesn't need to be like, just shouting, gotta get my point across. Like, that's what we saw out of the Jey Uso promo last week. And it's a perfect contrast when you look at how calm Roman Reigns is. Like, he's got just such a calm confidence about him right now. It reminds me a lot of when Chris Jericho was a heel in like 2008, where he had like, his whole thing was, he's quiet, he's got an intensity about him. But if you see behind his eyes, he would just be like this super intense killer. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so great. I love Roman Reigns. I love this promo. And I really do enjoy that he gives the challenge to Daniel Bryan, and immediately Cesaro's like, "Well, you got to do it.
Yes,
you got to do it," because like they're baby faces.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to be friends. How often would we have seen him say that to Daniel Bryan and Cesaro go, "God, this is my shot. It's not fair." And then there's how can they coexist? You know?
Yeah,
we didn't get that, and I really enjoy that. And now we've got this match for next week, which ties into a bunch of the reports that we've seen lately about Daniel Bryan wanting to wrestle elsewhere. He's thinking about hanging it up. You know, they talked forever about how this WrestleMania was perhaps his last. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can look at it and be like, this could be Daniel Bryan's retirement match. If they really wanted it to be, this could be his last match. And that's very intriguing. I don't know. Personally, I would have liked to have seen it not even necessarily on pay-per-view, but if this is Daniel Bryan's last match, I think it would probably deserve more than a week's build. But even still, 1 week build for a TV match is so much more than I'm used to with WWE programming. So honestly, this is more than fine by me. It gave me a match that I am looking forward to. Should be a good match with high stakes and things that I can be invested in. That's like all you can ask for out of pro wrestling in general. And
Absolutely.
I don't know, WWE hit a home run with this segment and the whole Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Roman Reigns thing on the whole show. I thought it was all just fantastic, honestly.
Yep. This is all really, really good. But let's see what you guys thought. We've got a couple general SmackDown chats here. One from Perseus, and by the way, get in your super chats, Ultrachats. We don't do super chats anymore. The Ultrachats at WrestleTalk.com/support. Link is on the screen right there. And we can get through all of your messages. They'll get read out on the stream, and we'll get to every single one of them before we get out of here. Perseus M comes in to say, for a second at the start, I thought married to Becky was Rollins' intangible. Well, yeah, kind of.
Could be.
Basically is at that point, yeah.
I mean, Triple H is intangible is married to Stephanie.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And we've got another one here from Tans that says, I've missed you guys lately. Haven't been able to watch a WrestleTalk/PFK live stream in months. Tempest, if you ever do make it out somewhere.
Come on, you can read that. Give it a try.
Saskatchewan?
That's close enough. It's Saskatchewan.
Yep. Green gimmick and whiskey on me. I don't know what that means, but yeah, have a good weekend, boys. #JamThatJam.
Sounds like a drink, which I'm up for.
It definitely does sound like a drink. Yeah.
Let's make it happen, Tans. Whenever I happen to be in Saskatchewan, I don't know why I would ever be in Saskatchewan, but if the opportunity arises, I'll take you up on that.
Absolutely. We got one here from Matthew Makovsky that says, I have a few thoughts about this. If Roman wins clean, what the hell does Bryan do? And run an NXT? O'Reilly versus Bryan? Gargano versus Bryan? Something good. Also, I want to understand where this Aleister stuff is going. I'm intrigued. Could challenge Roman. We'll talk more about the Aleister Black stuff when we get to that in the main portion of the show, because I'm sure both of us have some thoughts. I most certainly do. If Roman does win clean, I don't know what Bryan's going to do. And I think that's part of the intrigue for me. Could he do a couple matches in NXT? Sure. Would that be really cool? Absolutely. I don't think I'd want him to have a run properly down there. A couple feature matches would be great. Yeah, stuff against like Kyle, go against Johnny. I don't know, some other people I can't think of right now. Just put him against Walter. I don't care. Have him have some really fun matches in NXT before he goes or does whatever he's going to do. Sure. But I don't think I want him to have like a Finn Balor run down there. I don't think that would work for Bryan. But yeah.
I mean, I totally agree. The intrigue about what will happen to Daniel Bryan is a big part of this match. And I agree again, like, I don't want this to just end up with like, oh, Jey Uso runs in, it's a DQ, or Edge runs in, it's a double DQ, whatever. We don't know what's going to happen. This to me was like a perfectly set up next chapter that got me excited for next week. And I want it to be as big of a payoff then as it was now. I need there to be like, I want someone to lose and then them to stick to a stipulation. Like, I want this to be a big match. I don't want this to just be a throwaway thing. Like, if this is big, this could be one of the bigger WWE angles of the year. And I'd really love to see that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. We'll get into more of your Ultra Chats later on in the show. Make sure to get them in at WrestleTalk.com/support, and we will get through every single one of them before we get out of here today. But for now, let's talk about the rest of the show. So we started off with that opening segment, as we mentioned, with Cesaro and Bryan in that opening match, which was great. We then got a backstage promo with Apollo Crews going to Adam Pearce and saying he has to defend his Intercontinental Championship against Kevin Owens tonight. Which I thought, one, good, gives KO something to do that's not just Sami Zayn constantly. And it kind of, I don't want to say elevates him, but it gives him, because he's already kind of at that level anyway, but it kind of incorporates, the other feuds. You kind of get a sense of where they are on the card as well. Like the whole KO Sami thing could have been perceived as like an undercard thing, but positioning him around the Intercontinental title was like, oh, okay, he's still kind of in that upper mid-card-ish kind of role, which is nice. And it's not Big E, which is also nice. So you can have multiple feuds kind of coming together at the same time, which is also good. So yeah, thumbs up from me from them setting that one up. We got a little backstage promo from Jey Uso saying that if Cesaro steps to the head of the table, he's about to get put down. Ooh.
He's hard.
Jey Uso, yeah. As Tempest mentioned, this show was really great. Lots of positives. Do you want to know one thing that wasn't very good? Do you want to know the one segment that was really bad on this show. It's Nia Jax versus Tamina, everyone. We're back to the women's tag stuff, which is still terrible. Okay.
Oh my god.
So first things first, Reginald's back. Fine.
Yay.
Fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'll give him another chance. It's a fresh Reginald. A Freginald. And we're going to see how it goes, okay?
Okay, Andy.
And I have strong conflicting feelings. Anyone who watched my edited review would know I have very mixed feelings on this segment. The mix of them all being negative. But the annoying thing about this is they're kind of listening to the fans because they heard the people at WrestleMania be really into Tamina. So then they're pushing Tamina because they're listening to the fans. And that is everything we've wanted WWE to do for years. And they've done it with Tamina, which is like, you couldn't do it with anyone else. Like anyone else. Because then I feel like I can't be annoyed at this because you're doing what we want you to do. But it is also really bad at the same time. It's just, it's annoying. I'll get through the facts first before we go full ham on this. But they play a little video package to be like, Tamina got her WrestleMania moment. Crowd was super into Tamina. Everyone loves Tamina. This is all great. And then the match doesn't go very long between Nia and Tamina, obviously. And Reginald tries to do a distraction on the outside. Shayna and Tamina both don't like it. And Tamina... Shayna pulls Reggie off the apron as Tamina's going to go hit him. And instead, Tamina just kicks Shayna. She didn't need to do that, but she did it anyway. So then Shayna got annoyed at Reginald because he was the one that put her in harm's way. Reginald kind of falls over the steps. Nia Jax gets distracted by that because Shayna's mouthing off to Reginald. And then Nia gets hit with a super kick and then she gets rolled up and Tamina wins. And then they're all going, oh my God, what happened? This is crazy. Tamina's like, I did it. It's like, you won with a roll-up. That doesn't really count. You won after like a minute, after a distraction. That's not the best. And then everyone's kind of going, and then there's just silence on the commentary for a little bit. And everyone's just kind of going, what the hell is going on? And Michael Cole just goes, there's a lot going on here. Yeah, there really is, Michael Cole. There really is a lot going on here. You're quite right.
God.
I didn't like this at all.
No.
Not even a little bit.
Like, I'll be totally honest. I thought if you took this segment out, I thought this was probably the best show of WWE programming I've seen this year that wasn't like WrestleMania Night 1. Like, I thought this was just an excellent show from start to finish. That being said, I think this is the worst match that I've seen in 2021. Like, this was a disaster.
Yeah.
Everything they did in this match got messed up. Like, they were falling all over each other. A number of like the slams, they just kind of like fell on top of each other and rolled around. Shayna tried to grab Tamina's foot like 3 times and like grabbed it, and the ref was like, hey, stop that. And she let go, but they messed up the spot like 3 times, and you could tell because Tamina still like eventually got knocked down and just rolled to the outside, which is usually what happens when like the get pulled outside spot goes awry. That got messed up. It looked like the whole Reginald thing was like really messy. And then the schoolboy finish got messed up. She did the move wrong. Like, I don't think a single thing in this match was done properly. I'm really trying to be positive on this show. Like, I'm really trying, and they've made it very easy for me because this show on the whole was very good. But this was a disaster. This was the biggest disaster I've seen this year.
It's really bad. The women's tag stuff is just been awful lately.
Like, there's so many talented people on this roster that Aleister Black sat in catering for like 6 months. Peyton Royce just got released. Mickie James and Chelsea Green both just got released. But you can find a spot on TV every single week for like 2 years for Nia Jax.
Like, yeah.
I don't want to just be that guy that hates on Nia Jax, but like, come on. We get matches like this because of it. Like, who writes down Tamina versus Nia Jax on a piece of paper and is like, that's going to be a good one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
I don't know, man. Like I said in my edited review earlier, the women's tag stuff just feels like it's the little nugget of Raw that's put into my otherwise very pleasant SmackDown.
Yeah. That really is how it feels.
Yeah. It's just real bad. Anyway, that's the worst part of the show done. We had a really, really fun promo between Big E and Kevin Owens next. Really enjoyed this little promo because obviously Kevin Owens is getting the shot at the Intercontinental Championship and Big E wants his rematch. That's still his title in his mind. That's still his title that he wants. I'm not a huge fan of the whole rematch thing, but this makes sense for this because Big E's kind of obsessed with that title. That was his title, and character motivation wise, it makes a lot of sense. And Kevin Owens backstage. And Big E kind of comes in and just says, well, funny that I feel like you're a bit of a line jumper. And they're doing like very overly friendly thing. Like, oh, really? Oh, yeah, that's really great how you're getting the shot at my Intercontinental title. And it's like, oh, yeah. A very like fake camaraderie kind of thing. And Kevin Owens just says like, oh, it's funny that you think it's your title because when I win tonight, it's going to be my title. Isn't that great? And they're kind of like laughing and joking. And then both of them just kind of drop the laughs and kind of stare at each other. And then Kevin Owens walks off. And I was like, that's really good. It's two baby faces, but they both want the same thing. So they're kind of being like, I like you, but also I don't like you kind of vibes. And it was really good stuff.
Yeah. I thought this was perfect, like it was a really good segment to, again, set up exactly what you were just talking about, how they're both baby faces and normally they would get along, but it's not like they're the ones that are fighting right now, but they could be. Like if Kevin Owens wins this match, then all of a sudden Kevin Owens and Big E is the match. And all of a sudden, now you've got two guys who normally would get along, just kind of be like, okay. We might have to fight soon. So tension, but also not like really going at each other like hated rivals. It was a very good mix, a very good blend of like character and motivation right here. And this is the kind of thing that I like. I like nuance in my wrestling. And this was a good example of it.
Yeah. Something that wasn't particularly nuanced. That's very harsh. I just like the segue. Was Kevin Owens versus Apollo Crews, which was a very fun match. Again, the in-ring action, very, very strong. Really, really enjoyed the vast majority of the match, except for the finish once again, because we got Commander Aziz, right? Who's Apollo's new big muscle man. The thing I don't like about Commander Aziz is that we're supposed to completely ignore that Babatunde and Dabba-Kato ever existed and that Raw Underground ever existed and that entire timeline doesn't happen. I would have preferred it if they, instead of treating him like this completely new person that we've never seen before, he's so big. If they said like, oh, Apollo Crews has recruited him from, whatever, like he'd been floundering after Raw Underground and Apollo Crews has brought him in kind of thing. That would have been fine. But it's just like them just being like, who's this man? It's like, we've seen him for months.
So big.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Pat McAfee on this show said that he was the biggest human he'd ever seen. And I was like, yeah. Did you miss WrestleMania where Almost was on the same show? The exact same show.
I had the exact same note written down. Like the thing with Pat McAfee, I think he's perfectly good on commentary. Pat McAfee's fine. The only thing with Pat McAfee is he deals in absolutes a lot. And he said like, might be the largest human I've ever seen. And then he said in the Rey Mysterio match later, he was just like, I think this is the best Rey Mysterio has ever been. It's like, that's not true, Pat.
Yeah. Man.
But
I do like the idea of like Apollo Crews recruiting Dabba-Kato to be this, because you could still have him be like, oh, I'm gonna dress you up as my big Nigerian general, and that's gonna be your thing, like you could have it be, because I guess you'd have to change the character a little bit, because in Apollo Crews' mind he's not crazy. And because to me, looking at this, he seems crazy because he doesn't have an accent, that he just one day found this accent. I find that it's dumb, right? Like that part of it is dumb. They pulled the reverse Kofi Kingston on him and he found an accent. So I don't know. It's not like the most serious character, but I think it could be a lot more fun of like if you know that he's kind of nuts, pretending to be this Nigerian prince, royalty, like descendant, whatever, and have that be part of the joke, and have like Commander Aziz be like, why am I wearing all this? Like he's my boss. I'm protecting him. You know, I'm gonna hit my big Nigerian nail Samoan spike finish into people's faces. But this is a little weird. But again, he's cutting the checks. I don't know. I think that would be more fun than just he's a heel with a heel bodyguard. Full stop.
Yeah, I guess so. But regardless, I thought it was a very good match up until the finish, which was a distraction finish. And then he did a roll up because that's the exact same finish that we had in the previous match. Not a huge fan of distraction roll up finishes. And then immediately afterwards, KO hits a stunner onto Apollo Crews. Commander Aziz gets in and hits the Nigerian nail, which is, as you mentioned, the Samoan spike. That's been brought back now as the Nigerian nail onto Kevin Owens. I thought KO's selling of this was very good. Yeah, I always quite liked the Samoan spike. I thought it was kind of cool. It's different at the very least, which was nice. But KO's selling of this, I thought was pretty good. Him just kind of like coughing up like spit and stuff like that on the cell was pretty good. I liked it. Yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen from it. I don't know, because we had another backstage segment later, which we might as well talk about now, where Big E attacks Apollo backstage, because Apollo comes out for a post-match interview, and him saying that, you know, I'm still your Intercontinental Champion, I'm the best, did you see me? I beat Kevin Owens, I'm great. But then Big E comes in and just attacks him backstage and gets pulled away almost immediately. So I don't know whether they're going to build like a triple threat feud going forward for the IC title, which I think would be a nice change up. I don't know how Sami Zayn's going to get involved, because afterwards Sami Zayn came out during this match and was on commentary, and afterwards kind of danced around Kevin Owens while he was on the mat, which was funny. So I don't know where he slots into it. I don't know whether that was the one and done for KO and now he's just out of the Intercontinental picture. It was just a filler match. I don't know. But I would guess
that, honestly.
I would guess that too. But I would hope that they could maybe do like a 4-way feud for the title or something with Sami and KO involved. I quite like that, just to make it a little bit different from what's been going on, because it's just two feuds that have been combined. I think it's cool. Yeah, they could make that work.
Yeah, I was about to say the Sami Zayn Kevin Owens thing. I'm ready to see like some progression in this story. Like, I haven't had too much of a problem with anything up to this point, but now I'm like, okay, I need the next step. Like, where's the story going? And I thought we were going to get that at the end of this segment, but he just kind of danced over Kevin Owens' prone body. So to each their own. This wasn't the week for it, but I would like to think that it's coming. You know, I need that. I need the next chapter in this story. And if they just turned it into a 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship, that to me is a really fun way of like introducing a new element into this story, and perhaps giving both of them, like, I know Sami Zayn was just the Intercontinental Champion a few months ago, but it gives both of them something material to fight over instead of just like a win, which clearly didn't really mean much at WrestleMania, considering they're still going. So I'm interested to see where they go next.
Yeah, me too. I quite liked, we got that backstage promo from Paul Heyman that I mentioned earlier, but I liked the transition from Kayla Braxton here, who said, "I'll never get tired of Sami Zayn's dancing." Anyway, switching gears, here's Paul Heyman.
Oh, man.
WWE backstage interviewers, really, they get the short end of the stick, don't they? Goodness me.
They sure do.
They give them zero personality to work with. But then we got a very interesting part of the show, because it was the return of Aleister Black. Oh my God, it's been so long. He came back with a brand new vignette, brand new gimmick, seemingly. Really curious about this stuff, because it was all kind of very dark, very culty kind of thing. A lot of candles and him reading a book. And it was chapter 1, The Dragon. This was all about the story of how father used to take him to witness, was it funerals that he went to? And he realized that he was being taught how to become the dragon out of it, rather than slaying the dragon. Yeah. I think it was a lot of confusing words, but I will say the art style on it I thought was brilliant. Loved it so much. There were two things that came to mind immediately of immediate comparisons, and that's the scene in the first Deathly Hallows movie.
Yes, Pete,
where
I was going to bring this up.
Yeah, where they did the description of the Deathly Hallows, and also an episode in The Legend of Korra when they did where the original Avatar. God, I've forgotten his name now.
Aang?
The first Avatar in Legend of Korra. God, what's his name? That's gonna bug me. But anyway, really cool art style, and it's the story of how the Avatar came to be and how the very first Avatar got his powers and stuff like that. Art style was awesome. Really loved it, and genuinely, I'm really curious about where the story's going to go. It's probably going to go nowhere because it's WWE and they don't have my faith in that regard. But right now, I'm all in on this. I really like it. It's cool. It was a bit of a you people promo. It was a bit of like, you people all suck and you do some terrible things that should be scorched off the earth. And it was like, I need to know what we do wrong for the next bit, but I'm in so far. I'm in. I'm liking this. I'm liking where this is going.
Yeah. I thought the art style in this was just like beautiful. I really hope it comes back like week to week for these vignettes because I loved it. Absolutely loved, because I immediately thought of the Deathly Hallows Part 1 with this, which I think that's probably my favorite part of that movie too. So that was a really nice tie-in.
1 is his name. Thank you, chat.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense, doesn't it?
Avatar. Yeah.
But yeah, I had I wouldn't say mixed feelings because I was very happy to see this, and I'm very happy to see Aleister Black back. But this did kind of feel like a lot of the Spooky Man promos that we've seen. Again, it was really well done, and it would probably be in the upper tier of ones that we've seen. But I'm hoping to see more of like the character and motivation from Aleister Black as we go on. Because, yeah, I mean, it was a You People promo mixed with like a spooky original Bray Wyatt promo where he was kind of the cult leader. So you can mix those things together and create something new, and I hope that they do. So, again, I'm very invested in this. I want Aleister Black to succeed real bad.
Me too. Yeah. Real bad. We then got a backstage promo with the Street Profits and Ziggler and Rude. Good God, they're still feuding. Bayley then comes in and kind of separates them up, and then she kind of takes over the backstage interview and kind of badmouths Bianca Belair and says she's going to beat her and become the new face of the women's division where she needs to be because she's the one who built the division, blah, 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 blah. Nice little touch here, I thought. Montez Ford came back in with Bianca Belair on speaker on his phone and was like, hey, just so you know, she's talking mad trash about you. Just throwing it out there. And she says, don't worry, I'll be right there. And it goes to an ad break. It comes back. Bianca Belair's there. And she's kind of chatting to Bayley and being like, what were you saying? I heard you had my name in your mouth. Do you want to say it again? Didn't get this next bit, though, where Bayley, she changed tack and was just like, classic heel stuff of her just being like, oh, I was just saying, big congratulations for winning at WrestleMania. And, it would be an honor to face you at Backlash. And it's going to be a great match and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, classic heel, Bayley, sure, whatever. She walks off. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Bianca then goes, wow, that was weird. That's not what I expected to say. Then Bayley came back in, and then she laughed like a lunatic, and then she walked off again.
Yeah, I didn't get the end of this at all.
What? What was that? Because it wasn't even like the kind of laughter it was like, ha, got you kind of thing. She kind of came in and was just like, and then walked off. And I was like, what was that bit? That would make no sense. Right there. That was weird.
I will give them credit because I love the attention to detail that when Bayley interrupts a segment that has Montez Ford in it, it's not just like, all right, off he goes, off screen, never to be seen again. Yep. I do like the connection of everyone knows that Montez Ford and Bianca Belair are married, so tie that in. It doesn't need to be like a crux of the storyline, but when a segment like this happens, it makes more sense to rope that in. That being said, I really didn't get the laughter at the end of this segment. Like up till then, I thought it was like really good. Like I thought it was a really good segment because like Bayley, like to me, her like complimenting Bianca Belair over and over again, it gave the audience a little bit of like the benefit of the doubt. Like you're smart enough to know that she's not being genuine, And then they threw that away at the end of the segment by going like, see, she was lying. She's got to like laugh and make everyone know that she wasn't telling the truth. So I didn't like that part of it. But up till then, if you cut the segment short by like 10 seconds, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. It's just weird to me because it was like the laugh was supposed to be like, haha, I got you. I hoodwinked you. I'm so smart. But Bianca, I don't think ever... she didn't think that Bayley was being legit, and nor did any of the audience. So she was just laughing because she didn't trick anyone, which is just...
It was odd.
It was just tonally very odd to me. I get what they were trying to do. It just didn't click. After that, we then had tag team match of Alpha Academy versus the Mysterios. Again, a very fun match. It's in-ring quality, really, really good. And the Mysterios won clean. There you go.
Fine with me, honestly.
They're going to be next in line for a tag title shot, most likely. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't really have too much else to say about this match. It was just very fun.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen some variation of these guys together, I think, on every SmackDown show that we've reviewed together. And there's been like 4 of them now. So that might be considered a bit of an issue. But if it's a good match every time, I'm not going to complain about it, honestly. Like, I love seeing Rey Mysterio. I think Dominik Mysterio is actually really, really good. I think Chad Gable is really, really good. And then you got Otis, who's like, he can fit in and not be
he's good.
Yeah, he's a solid good. I like it, you know? Just like keep giving me good matches. I'm not going to complain about like the good matches not being well, they're not the matches that I want. You know, I'm going to take what I can get on SmackDown. And this was a really fun match. Yeah,
it was. The tag division only has 4 teams in it, but I do like 3 of those teams. So it's they could put on some fun matches.
Who's the one team that just you don't like?
Ziggler and Rude, man.
And they're the champions.
I just don't. And then we got the main event segment. Cesaro and Bryan came out literally as the Mysterios were celebrating, being like, "All right, time's up. Come on, off you go. We've got our main event segment."
Yeah, it was weird because they finished they finished the show like 2 minutes early too, and like it felt like they were rushing. Like anytime segments like this overlap, I'm just like, are you trying to hit a time cue? Is that what's going on? But then they finished early, so I'm just like, why couldn't you just wait 2 minutes and like maybe they were just really trying to lead into the main event segment. I don't know. It's fine, but every time it happens, I'm just like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
there's got to be some reason.
Speaking of absolutes in that main event promo segment, the biggest main event in SmackDown history we're getting next week, apparently.
You know, I won't argue it, honestly. I could probably go back through the memory bank and find like a bigger SmackDown main event. But if this is going to be a Universal title match between Roman and Daniel Bryan, that's also Daniel Bryan's retirement, that might be the biggest SmackDown main event, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if that's hyperbole.
Yeah. I can't think of anything immediate that comes to mind. I feel like there's been bigger SmackDowns just like from the past, but I genuinely can't think of any off the top of my head. But I reckon
the first SmackDown had a big main event when it was Triple H versus The Rock for the WWE Championship. Like that's pretty big with Shawn Michaels as the referee on the first SmackDown. So like there were big moments, like maybe the Iron Man match between Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Like that was a pretty big one. I don't know. There's a bunch of like really big matches, but this is a situation where if WWE tells me this is the biggest match ever, and you actually look at it, I'd be like, yeah, I could if you were paying me to debate it, I could probably come up with an argument. But if you just said that, I'd be like, yeah, I buy it.
Yeah, that's totally fair. But also, largest man I've ever seen for Commander Aziz, and the greatest WrestleMania moment in history of Cesaro's UFO. So maybe they're just chipping away at me and just being like, I don't believe anything you say anymore. Anyway, that was the show. Overall, I thought this was a much better show than last week because it felt like a show with stories that actually progressed. And we had some new things. We had Apollo versus KO, which is pretty good. The whole dynamic with Seth and Jay and Bryan and Cesaro was new and cool and interesting. Some good progression to story, some really good in-ring action, which is what you want on a wrestling show. There's a lot of wrestling on this wrestling show. Do more of that, please. And I'm in on Aleister Black, and I'm curious on where the Cesaro Reigns stuff goes from here. I gave this a low 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Honestly, if the Tamina Nia Jax match wasn't on this show, I think I would have gone 5 out of 5 for this SmackDown.
Really? Wow.
I really, really enjoyed this SmackDown. Like, I don't remember the last time I watched a weekly episodic WWE show and just went, wow, like that show just like, it just put me in such a good mood. That being said, because of like a few of the things that I found a little bit less than positive, I will say that this is a very solid 4 out of 5, but right there. Could have been the 5 out of 5, but maybe next time.
Maybe next time. But either way, pretty darn good show overall.
Oh, yes.
So before we get on to the rest of your Ultra Chats, we need to say thank you to some very special people. It's a bumper edition of the shout-outs today because it's the end of the month, so we're getting through all the rest of them. So we're saying thank you to our very special Pledgehammers over on Patreon. If you haven't been to WrestleTalk's Patreon page yet, you should. Next week, we've got WrestleTalk After Dark, which is where a bunch of us just get together and just drink and just chat absolute nonsense for a couple hours. That'll be going up next week, so you can check that out very soon. And also, if you pledge at the $25 or above tier, you get your own custom wrestling nickname, and it gets read out on a show, much like this one. So, thank you to Let's Get Larry, Harry Harry. Woo! Thank you very much.
We've got name of your 2000s pay-per-view, Chaos Rising.
Doesn't that just sound like a 2000s pay-per-view? Thank you very much.
It sure does. Like, that was absolutely a WCW pay-per-view for 2001 that didn't air yet.
Especially because Chaos is spelled with a K. Just throwing that out there as well. That throws it into it more. Float like a butterfly, Samad Ali. Woo! Thank you very much. Welcome back, Samad.
I like this next one. We've got Dodgeball, David Vaughn.
Thank you for doing the hand motion. I appreciate you. Fantastic, Mr. Good Old Fox. Woo!
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. We've got Alex Bourne, Ultimatum.
Woo! Woo! Thank you very much.
Good movie.
Pledgehammer Power, Hero in the Half Shell. Woo! Thank you very much.
I wonder how many of these are come up by like Luke with his like old 80s, 90s references.
That one was me.
Oh, I'm very proud of you, Pete.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's very good. We've got the venerable Jesse Venable.
Woo! Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The Gent, Robert Brent. Woo!
Very nice. We've got Halloween Havoc Central.
Woo! Yes.
Woo.
Havoc also spelt with a K.
Also a WCW pay-per-view.
Yeah. Colin McLeaner than Finn Balor. Woo! Thank you very much.
It's pretty lean, honestly.
Yeah.
We've got Bananas, Hannah Bananas.
Yeah, thank you. Love that Gwen Stefani reference. Got to do the voice for this one. Got to do my best Batman voice. I'm Batty Man. Nathan Batty. Woo! Thank you very much.
That's pretty good, honestly. I didn't know what we were going to get there, but that's pretty good. We've got our favorite emailer, the one and only Gabriel.
Yeah, thank you very much. I love this one. This was such a stupid name. An expert dancer, great swayer man. Because he sways greatly. Clearly.
We've got Adrian, Rocky.
Yeah, thank you very much. And finally, for the month, we've got Who Wants to Walk with Daniel Elias Chrysler. Woo!
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you,
Very
everybody.
good.
Thank you, all of our Pledgehammers over on Patreon. And let's get into the rest of your Ultra Chats before we get out of here today. Last chance to get those in, WrestleTalk.com/support. We'll get through every single one of them before we get out of here today. Rangers Mayhem says, could this be Bryan's last match? On SmackDown, Bryan moves to Raw to boost the ratings. Also, did you know there's a pay-per-view tomorrow with a title for title match? Not sure AEW knows.
Yeah. This is such a thing.
Yeah, it's a shame. I could totally see Bryan moving to Raw. I don't think he will. This is why I'm so intrigued for the match. If I thought it was just going to be, Bryan's going to move to Raw, then I don't think I'd be as intrigued as in a match. But with the whole possibility of the contract expiration thing floating around, I'm quite curious. So yeah,
I think
And yes.
this match comes at a really good time with like all the reports coming out about Daniel Bryan's future, because it adds that like next level of like, I can really suspend my disbelief when I watch this match that like a big change will come. And if they do like a random retirement match on the middle of, February for no reason, I'm not going to be as invested in it. But right now I'm just like, I have no idea what's going to happen. And that's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also, yes, AEW should have done a better job for promoting the Rich Swann versus Kenny Omega match at Rebellion. Speaking of Rebellion, Wrestle League predictions are up. You should, if you're a Pledgehammer on Patreon, another reason to go on Patreon, you've got Impact Rebellion predictions. Get those in because it's the next show for the season, for season 10. Go do your predictions. Matthew Makovsky says, Aleister Black did say dragon. I know that. Yeah, it was chapter 1, the dragon. And oh my God, Tempest, you know what I'm getting at? I hope you do. Black versus Shingo the Dragon. My God, that match would hump and bang our brains out how good it is.
Well, that would have to be very good. But yeah, I think Shingo Takagi is like one of the best, most dynamic wrestlers in the world. Like when I think of a dynamic wrestler, like someone who wastes no motion, whose everything they do looks super crisp, the two names that come to mind for me are Shingo Takagi and Kenny Omega. I just, love Shingo. One of my favorite guys. And Aleister Black is one of my favorite guys in WWE. So I don't think this match is going to happen anytime in the near future. But if it happens before either one of them retires, I would be very, very excited to see it again.
HCB comes in to say SmackDown was really good as usual, but I hate heel versus heel storyline, so I hate the women's tag title feud. It doesn't help it's also boring and repetitive. Seriously, what is actually a satisfying conclusion to this feud, as we're meant to hate both? They're changing now Natalya and Tamina, who've been very much pushed as heels, because Tamina got cheered at WrestleMania. They're now making them the baby faces in this. It's not working. I'm not cheering for them, but at least it's not heel versus heel. So that's something. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't think they have an end goal or an end game for this rivalry storyline. I don't think many of the fans watching it are like really anticipating that big title win for Natalya and Tamina. Like none of it really matters, honestly. Maybe they are filling time. Maybe they are. I hope someone out there is like really all in on Tamina. It's just like it's probably like Dan or somebody in our Discord chat loves Tamina and wants to see her do well. So for those people, I hope she does, and I hope they get that moment.
Yeah. We got one here from Anderson Floyd that says, guess my chopper is more Pete and less corporate now. Poor Mr. Davis. How will the most kawaii person in all of sports infotainment go on without his best friend and right-hand man? Where was all this? I don't understand why people are saying that I'm like me and Mr. Davis are splitting or anything. Like I'm still corporate chopper. I'm still right here. I've not been wearing the jacket. As I've said many times, the lining's getting really itchy. I kind of need a new suit jacket anyway. And it's getting a bit warmer. It's just tough to wear in conditions like these. There's a lot of stuff going on why I don't want to wear the jacket, but I'm still part of the Old Authority. We're still strong. We're still good. There's nothing going on. There's nothing crazy. Okay. I don't know why you guys keep talking about it. It's just nothing wrong. Okay. Glad we got that sorted.
Voice just kept getting higher and higher and higher.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about either, Pete.
Back to the Batman voice. I don't know what you're talking about. Rachel!
Hockey pads.
Where is she? Anyway. Yeah. That's all the Ultrachats we've got. God, my brain's frazzled. Thank you guys for all your Ultra Chats today, and thank you everyone for coming out to the review. We really do appreciate you guys coming out. If you're watching on catch up, please do press the videos that have just appeared on the screen to catch up with more awesome WrestleTalk podcast stuff, and the button in the middle that will make you become a Pledgehammer over on Patreon. I have been Corporate Chopper. I've been joined by Tempest the Wrestler, and that was SmackDown. Jam that jam, everyone.